Hi, I'm Dr. Paul, and I'm sitting with Dr. Garrett Bode, chiropractic physician right here in Oldsmar, Florida. And the topic is, what does it cost if you're in an automobile accident or injury? So, Dr. Bode, first of all, if somebody's in a car accident or injury, does that cover chiropractic services?
Chiropractic, we do accept patients who have been injured in car accidents. And yes, there is insurance out there that covers that. And believe it or not, when patients come in, it's not their health insurance that they're utilizing, but their auto insurance. In the state of Florida, you have a type of insurance within your car insurance called personal injury protection. Mm-hmm. If you're injured in any type of car accident, whether you're at fault or not at fault, this personal injury protection is there for all of your medical expenses.
Okay. Now, that's required, right? So
Correct.
when you have when you get to purchase a car, etc., you're required to have insurance, right? And part of that insurance is what you're calling personal injury protection.
That's correct, and you are, by law, you have to have that to own a car.
Okay, so sometimes people may not even know they have it, but they have it. If they have insurance on their car, they have it.
They have PIP insurance. Correct.
Okay, and you're calling PIP personal injury protection. Okay,
yes, sir.
And so when somebody's in a car accident, that is not going to be billed through their major medical. It's billed through their car insurance.
That's correct.
Okay, now, how does that work? What do they pay? What do they not pay?
If your personal injury protection, or PIP for short, that PIP insurance covers 80% of all medical costs that you incur during any treatment after a car accident. And that medical cost goes up to a certain limit of $10,000. Mm-hmm. So you have basically, for every person that's in a car, so if you're in a car with you and your wife and your 2 kids, each individual within that car has $10,000 in medical benefits. Okay. Those benefits aren't $10,000 for the whole family.
Right.
It's $10,000 for each person.
Okay.
And your car insurance will cover 80% of any medical cost for each one of those individuals up to $10,000.
Is there a deductible?
There can be. And it's up to the patient when they sign up for their insurance. Mm-hmm. Whoever insurance they bought, their agent will ask them, would you like a deductible? And deductibles can range. The highest deductible is $1,000. Mm-hmm. The lowest is obviously $0, but there's varying degrees of that in between.
So there can be a deductible. And what about, can the copay vary besides 80%, or is it just flat out 80%?
It's flat out 80% that the insurance covers. The 20% that is left over is in fact the responsibility of the patient. Mm-hmm. However, if the accident was not that particular patient's fault, say the accident, this person was rear-ended and it was the other person's fault, and they're coming to seek treatment. When they come in to seek treatment, the 80% that we bill, we send to their insurance companies. Right. Once we're done with treatment and they've finalized their case, then basically from then you can have one of 2 options to cover that 20%. Either the at-fault driver can pay for it, or, which is typically something that you get from a settlement if you have an attorney from a car accident case. It's not required, but some folks do end up hiring attorneys to not only help them with that 20%, but any kind of long-term effects or pain and suffering or residual care that they may need in the future.
Okay. Now, the coverage, the $10,000 PIP, personal injury protection coverage, it covers chiropractic, right?
Correct.
Okay. Are there any therapies or treatments that it doesn't cover? In other words, when they come in here to your office, are there some of your therapies that PIP would not cover?
That's a good question. We get that a lot from patients where they'll come in and say, Doc, I know this is going to cover 80%, but is there anything out there that may be hidden and suddenly I'm hit with some huge cost out of the blue?
Right.
PIP insurance covers medical costs, period.
Okay.
They don't get the choice of choosing which coverage is, like they do a lot in your group health, saying, well, we don't cover that type of care, or we don't cover that type of care. With personal injury protection, the insurance company covers whatever you purchase for medical under that PIP insurance.
Okay, so they'll cover your exams, your x-rays, your therapies, your treatments, and all that.
Absolutely.
What about limits, number of visits? Are there limits in the number of visits that the insurance will cover?
They don't limit you by visits. The way personal injury protection limits a patient is by total amount. Each patient, again, they have $10,000 in benefits. Once those benefits are used up, then you have no other benefits. From that point, you have to look elsewhere for care if you're still experiencing severe problems or pain. At that point, you can use your health insurance if you don't have anything else out there. But in situations where cases get to that point and a patient is going to need significant care beyond their initial $10,000, a lot of times we'll encourage a patient to seek legal counsel, because there's going to be some significant costs incurred, and if the accident wasn't their fault, that patient shouldn't have to incur those costs.
Right. So those additional costs would be from let's say you're past the 10,000 coverage, you still need some type of care, and your major medical now doesn't cover this or that. So now you're kind of stuck with the bill.
Now you're stuck with the bill.
Unless
you
hire the attorney and
if from that point the attorney, you're not suing the individual as this guy was a jerk and he hurt me. You're suing because you want to make sure that your future medical costs are covered, and you're not going to have to, say, take a loan out on your own home to cover future medical costs from an accident that was not your fault.
Gotcha.
So there are good, viable reasons for having attorneys in certain situations.
Okay. Now, let's say the patient is in an auto accident. Will you accept the PIP coverage for their payment?
We will.
Okay.
What we typically do for the patient as well is when they come in, we will get their insurance information and have them sign something called an assignment of benefits. All that really is a letter stating that it gives us the authority to bill the insurance company for the patient, so that at the end of the day, once we've done treatment, I don't have to give a bill to the patient, send them home and make them try to go through all of the difficulties of trying to get an insurance company to pay a bill. We take that on that task for them.
Now, will you wait for that payment, or will you make the patient pay, and then when you get the payment, the patient's reimbursed?
No. We will wait for that payment, because an insurance company by law has 30 days to pay each claim that we send in. So once we send it in, we'll get the payment back from them. We don't require a patient to pay at the time of service.
Okay, so if somebody's in an accident, it's covered under Florida law.
Correct.
Chiropractic care is covered under Florida law.
Correct.
You'll do the insurance billing for them.
Correct.
And you'll wait on payment, so essentially they don't have to come out of pocket to pay you, essentially.
Correct. Most of the time, if a patient comes to our office and they were not at fault in the accident, 99.9% of the time that patient is going to incur very little, if any, costs out of their own pocket, besides maybe the gas to come here to get to see us.
Right, okay. And is there any other common questions that you get with cost? Because that can be a confusing issue.
It really is. Patients always say, "Gosh, Dr. Bode, you want to use my insurance to cover my costs, but this accident wasn't my fault. Why are we using my insurance? It's going to make my insurance rates go up."
What about that?
Well, by law in the state of Florida, if you're injured in a car accident and the accident was not your fault, by law, you still have to use your personal injury protection insurance. That insurance takes precedence over your group health insurance, your Aetna, your Cigna, your United.
And you have to use your insurance prior to the other person's insurance. Let's say they hit you.
Correct. And since by law they force you to use it, they can't turn around and then penalize you and raise your rates because you used your insurance.
But I could see where somebody would be concerned about that.
Well, absolutely. If I've gotten a really good insurance rate and I've done well and protected myself, the last thing I want to do is be punished because of someone else's mistake. And in the state of Florida, they can't do that to you.
Okay, so they can't raise the rates if it wasn't your fault.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I would imagine that's
I've had counsel from many attorneys, and I've asked that question to make sure that I'm correct, and actually had the statute sent to me, so I know that to be a fact.
Okay, very good. All right, again, we're talking with Dr. Garrett Bode, chiropractic physician in Oldsmar, Florida, right here. And the topic of discussion was, what does it cost if you're in an automobile accident? So if you've been in an automobile accident, as you just heard, it is covered. Dr. Bode does accept that, what's called a PIP, personal injury protection insurance, and he will bill that for you. So he'll take care of it for you. So go ahead and just give him a call.